All right, round two, because this is important stuff. This is expensive stuff, it's important stuff, it's life-changing stuff if you don't get it right, or better in a lot of cases. Don't get it wrong. Part two, we're gonna answer some specific questions about condos, houses, wind mitts, second floor, first floor, 81st floor, questions, okay? Brad, who are you and why do we care?
Brad Davies. I'm a local independent insurance agent here in Destin. We are licensed in Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. Been doing it for over 10 years now. Local Florida, born and raised in Central Florida, fifth generation, been here my whole life.
All right, let's get after it. So Brad, here's a question from a homeowner. Here's what they say.
First question I have is, why do the insurance companies make you replace your roof after 10 or 15 years when the asphalt shingles have 30-year warranty? I have a roof that I got a house in 2012, and at the time I bought it, I had it inspected, and they said I had 2 to 3 years left on that roof. I have not changed that roof. It's 2024, and I'm not going to insure it. I'm not insuring the roof. I got it in Windex. So the thing is it has not leaked in all that time, and I protected it by just going up on my roof and sealing it every year or so with a $3 bottle of asphalt stuff.
Very typical, right? I have a roof that says 30 years. It's only 15 years old. Why do I have to replace it?
So we see this a lot right now. My kind of response to that is those time or the longevity numbers are done in areas of the country that don't see the weather that we see. They see how much life they can get out of something. So we see it all the time. I mean, it's not that these companies are pulling these numbers out of the air. They have thousands, if not millions, of data points that show after this time period, this is when we start to see failures. And I could go point by point with that. You know, a lot of those statements there. You always have that option if you don't have a loan. Not everybody has that option. You know, most people in Florida, or most homeowners, have a mortgage. A mortgage company does not let you go with an X-Wind policy. That again, then that's the extreme there. So he didn't just say, I'm going to go X-Wind on my roof. I'm X-Wind on my whole home.
Right.
So the roof rips off, you get damage in the interior. I mean, the whole thing could blow away. He's out of pocket, or they're out of pocket. Dice. Yeah, and that's totally his call because he doesn't have a mortgage. Most people don't have that option.
All right, so here, I think I got it, because I hear about this in the real estate thing. What's going on with real estate? Well, nationwide it's this, but it's like the weather too. What's the weather like across the country? Well, in Cleveland, it's 28 degrees right now, but in Miami, it's 78.
Yeah.
But we're all having the same weather if we're looking at the nation. Yeah. It's the same thing with these roofs. Yeah, they can last 30 years under ideal, or what I would call normal conditions.
Yeah.
But Florida experiences extraordinary conditions.
Look at what we see in the transitional periods here. You get 40-degree plus temperature swings night and day, like within a 12-hour. I mean, expand, contract, expand, contract. I mean, that's why every piece of concrete you see has cracks in it.
Yeah.
Things just, they fail. You get that, you get what we had Winter Storm Finn, you get straight line winds, you get that kind of stuff. I mean, you literally saw tornadoes in the middle of winter come through here. And then the next couple of days, it's 75 degrees and sunny. So it's all of that.
It's a classic, both sides can be right. You can look up at your roof and say, I don't see any problems, there's no problems. It's rated for 30 years, it's only 15.
And what he's saying, he got an inspection in 2012. The inspection said it had 2 to 3 years or 3 to 4 years of life left, that 15-year mark.
Yeah, but now he's living on bonus time.
Well, and he can do that because he doesn't have a mortgage.
Right.
But at the same time, that roof technically is failing. He's having to reseal it. If your roof is in good shape, you don't have to do that every year. So while yes, he's found this system that works for him, at the end of the day, if the home blows away, he doesn't have coverage at all, not just the roof.
Yeah.
It's the whole entire home.
Yeah.
So again, I can go play.
I'm gonna do it again.
A lot of that,
if anybody here has a question about the roof, call Brad, right? Because everybody's on an individual basis. I don't think the insurance companies are necessarily trying to rip people off, but I believe there are cases where the roof is perfectly fine, even though they're telling them to replace it.
Certainly.
And that's frustrating as well. I get that.
Yeah. Why am I replacing something that's working?
That's working.
An insurance company looks at it, the flip side of that is, the 15-year mark really came about for the litigation piece. That's where you started to see at that 15-year mark, oh, you have storm damage, door knockers coming on, let me get on your roof, bad actors, fraud, all this stuff, and they're filing these claims at that mark because that's when the wear and tear has happened, so they can get it through, and they're getting not just the roof replaced, but then the lawsuit comes on top of it. So insurance companies are protecting themselves from saying, okay, we're gonna set this mark at 15 years because in that window, we have a better chance of fighting this piece because you can't show that it's damaged. So they're using the wear and tear that's not covered by insurance as part of home ownership, maintaining your property. Things deteriorate still.
Okay.
They're using that mark, and that's, again, these are the data points that they have, and that's the other side of that. It's not, the insurance companies don't want to do this necessarily. They're being,
I don't know if I'm buying that. I think they want to make the money. Who doesn't, right? That's
they do, but you want your insurance company to make money, so they're there to pay your claim. You don't want to make.
Fair enough. Yeah, you got to have money to pay the claim. Exactly.
So that's the flip side of all this.
All right, let's go to question number 2.
Hi, my name is Carolyn, and I'm wondering the following. If I have a first floor Gulf front condo unit, what policies would you recommend I purchase to be fully covered?
First floor condo unit. All right, couple things, right? Condo, is the building covering this? Is the owner of the first floor unit? Let's talk about this. As an owner of a condo, what am I responsible for?
So I'll speak to the typical, what we typically see. Your association is going to cover all the way to the sheetrock. They're going to have a policy, provided they've got enough coverage. You haven't gone in and done some crazy upgrades on your own or whatever.
Altered something.
Something. They're going to say, we're going to build everybody back a box.
Okay.
Then your policy, which was called an HO6 or a condo policy, is going to take what we easily call the wallpaper and in. It technically takes the texturing of the sheetrock and in. Okay. Is what you take. So flooring, cabinets, countertops, interior light fixtures, all of that stuff.
Is that an umbrella policy?
Umbrella is solely with your liability. So that is another piece if you're renting the unit. Most condo policies are going to come with $300,000 or some other underlying coverage of liability. If you're in a rental situation or you've got just more assets to protect, I would certainly recommend an umbrella policy that's going to get you an additional $1 million, $2 million, $3 million. I mean, you can go on up.
But the condo association policy's got you to the wallpaper.
As far as the property damage coverage, they've got you to the wallpaper. Your policy then fills that box back in, plus refurnishes it. So you're covering your personal property.
Up to $300,000?
That's a liability coverage. A personal property is going to be tailored to the person.
Okay.
So you could go buy a $15,000 couch, or you could go buy a $2,000 couch.
Yeah.
Every unit's furnished differently. You have an idea of what's in your unit. You call me with a value, and I'll put the value on there. I would definitely make sure you've got some sort of loss of use coverage as well, which usually is included. Again, that coverage can be a variable of a percentage of typically your personal property. Mm-hmm. So sometimes, depending on the carrier now, you may have to bump your personal property to get that loss of use up. It's usually 40%. So those are standard property coverages. Being a first floor unit, I would definitely look at some flood insurance as well if you're on the beach.
Flood is rising water.
Rising water from the exterior, including tidal surge from a hurricane. So if it's just tidal surge that does the damage and you don't have flood, you don't have coverage. The association policy works slightly different on that. They cover interior rebuild. So their policy—
A common area.
The whole building plus each unit.
Oh, each unit. Okay.
So they don't stop at the wallpaper.
Okay.
You're going to put your floors, your cabinets.
If it's a flood.
If it's a flood.
Okay.
So specific to flood, they're going to be able to buy up to $250,000 per unit to replace it. Again, if you need more than that, you can certainly buy more on the building, on the excess. Mm-hmm. I mean, some of these units can be 3,000 square feet. You're not replacing it for $250,000.
So if I'm on the 6th floor, not as concerned about flood?
Not as concerned. There can be some, depending on the market you go to, some private stuff that, may include a few more bells and whistles, some loss of use and things that the NFIP or FEMA policy that most people are used to seeing may not come with. So there is some benefit there if you think, the
two things are jumping out at me. Flood is usually ground up.
Yep.
What if the guy upstairs is flooding down into me?
So that, as far as insurance goes, is called water damage. So
not flood.
Not flood. We all call it flood, but it's water damage. It's busted pipes, leaking water heater, whatever it may be, your AC unit, we see it all the time.
Tub overflows.
Those laws in Florida changed a few years ago. Everyone's responsible for their own unit up front. So even if it comes 3 floors up, you get damage, you got to file a claim on your policy. Now it's up to the insurance companies at that point if they want to subrogate on the back end and go after if there's some negligence or whatever, or if it's basically worth their time to do it. If it's a small claim, they'll probably say whatever, but then they'll spread it out amongst themselves. I mean, insurance is there to spread the risk, right? So that's the idea behind that. But everyone up front is responsible for their own unit, and then the carriers will sort it out between themselves.
Next question, wind-driven rain. That's not flood either.
It's not, and that's a very good question. There are a lot of condo policies, I wouldn't say a lot, there are a few out there that don't cover that. So wind-driven rain is when you usually see it on sliders. They face the beach.
Patio doors,
and that rain comes in it sideways and it gets in through the seal, but there's technically no damage to the window, to the seal, it just seeps in, water finds a way.
Yeah.
So you have to have a specific coverage for that a lot of times. We are seeing
Many people don't.
They
got hurt on that, on the hurricanes, or do get hurt.
Certainly. It's you got to check your coverage. Sometimes it's not worth it. You may have a carrier over here that's $1,500. The carrier that has the wind-driven rain coverage is $3,500. Maybe you have $2,000 in damage. Well, you save that in 1 year and you pay out.
Tell you what, I saw past hurricanes, wind-driven rain. People thought they had flood insurance. It wasn't flood. I'm on the 8th floor. How did I get? No, it was wind-driven rain. You're not covered for that. But it was
there's
enough.
No damage.
But there was enough wind-driven rain in there that it got into the drywall, right, and soaked the drywall.
Sure.
But it knocked out the ACs for the building. Wet drywall turned into mold, that turned into all kinds of disaster.
I mean, it can snowball, right? There's all kinds of things that can happen.
Big disaster.
It goes back to that other question about the X-wind. Even if you had it and they deemed it wind, there's no coverage for any of that. So
call, make sure, because here's the other thing I know. People think they're covered and they're not covered. And Brad, I love you and all, but not all agents are good agents. Why didn't you tell me that? Well, you didn't ask. Well, why didn't, right? You find out when it's happening.
Sure, and it's a tough situation, right? Because we get the call, they're like, get the rate as low as you can get the rate as low. And
always.
And as an agent, we have to balance that.
Right.
I may send a quote that has that coverage and say, this is our rate, this is what we recommend. Someone else may not. Not saying that's wrong. That client, again, you tailor the policy to the client, right? Yeah. The client, ultimately it's the client's policy. I'm here to do what they want me to do and to advise, but they don't have to take my advice either.
Yeah.
So I see that all the time. I say, this is what I would do. Like, I don't want to do that. Okay, I'm fine with that, but I've presented it, right? So every policy is unique in that, and we see that all the time. Can I just assume that? No, because they rate you too as an individual. They rate your claim history. They rate all of that. So you can't just assume these policies either.
Okay.
So everything is unique to that person, and ultimately it's their responsibility because it's their policy. It's their contract with the company, with the carrier.
So if I'm a homeowner, condo owner, I really need to call my insurance person, or you, or both, probably both, right? Because you want to get comparison.
Yeah.
You want to compare and contrast who's got what and how this all works to get your best deal. But not always the cheapest deal is the best deal. You gotta be careful. I got one last question. As an owner of property that we rent via Airbnb and VRBO and others, does the insurance, because I know this happens, somebody buys a property, a house, insures it, doesn't tell insurance people that, hey, no, we're also doing Airbnb. Does it change? If you run an Airbnb, is that a different policy required?
Absolutely, 100%.
Everybody does it all the time, right? And they change, you call you up and say, hey, we're doing Airbnb, can you charge me more?
Yeah, everyone. Right?
They don't do it, right?
Nobody does.
Because they're not thinking it. You gotta be careful. If you're running an Airbnb out of your house and you think you're covered and you haven't changed your insurance, it's not gonna matter until it matters.
Sure.
And that's gonna matter a lot.
Yeah, and that piece is most likely gonna be liability. Someone's gonna get hurt, someone's gonna sue you, and unfortunately you're gonna find out the hard way that insurance company's saying, you weren't rated for this, we're not covering it.
I'm insured. Well, not really. Are you running this as an Airbnb? Yeah. No.
Yeah, it happens all the time, unfortunately. So you gotta be careful, you gotta know what you have, and that it goes back to the point with the condo, the wind-driven rain, same thing. You gotta know what you have.
Yeah.
So you gotta be informed.
That's why we're doing this. We're trying to help you all out.
Just like when you drive down the street and the officer pulls you over going 15 over. Oh, I didn't know. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
You're still getting the ticket.
Yeah. Let's take one more question here. Let's see what's going on here.
Yes, hi. I have a question I was hoping you guys can help with. I own a house in Florida, and my neighbors were talking about possibly doing a wind mitigation study that provided to their insurance company, and they did tell me that they may be able to get some kind of a discount on the annual policy. Not sure if this is something that would apply to me or not, but I wanted to get more information from you guys on the wind mitigation study, what it is, what is required, and how that might impact my policy. Thanks.
Love it. That's a big thing in Florida, right?
Absolutely. I mean,
all right, so tell people what the I call it wind mitigation.
So wind mit is for short, but wind mitigation is going to look at 7 credits. There's 7 potential credits that you can get applied to your policy.
Credit is a reduction in cost?
Reduction in your rate. Yeah, right? So it's going to look at the age of the roof, the age of the home, when the roof was replaced, the size nails in the roof decking, whether you've got hurricane clips, secondary water resistance, and then impact rated windows and doors.
Did you have to take a test on this? I mean, look at this guy go with his 7, right?
No.
You had me like at 2.5.
I've seen, probably 80% of homeowners policies need them, or we recommend them.
Yeah.
It's going to depend on your build year.
Wait,
so,
you reckon they don't have to have them?
No, you don't have to have one. You don't have to have one, period. Doesn't matter.
But you should, because they'll discount your...
In most cases, so if you had let's just call it a 1998 house with a 2022 roof and you didn't have it, you're paying at least double in most cases what you should be paying. At least double. So
this is your chance to save a buck or two.
Yeah, if you've got the permit, which is a big issue in Florida with hurricanes, and I can get into that one day, but permit is a big one. The nails and the clips, all that is code now. So when you get your roof replaced, so if you didn't have it, you're gonna get it. The trick is on some of the older houses, and depending on the design of the house, the clips can be sometimes retrofitted, sometimes not. So you gotta talk to your roofer. Most homes nowadays have them. I mean, they've been somewhere down the line, someone's put them in or found a way to do it. We run into it 1% of the time a lot where you don't have them.
Okay.
But the wind mitigation is definitely recommended. It's usually anywhere from $175 to $200, depending on inspections or your inspector. We've got lots of good guys that we can recommend. They get out to you fast, they do a good job. We also, it kind of ties into the 4-point piece. So I want to touch on that a little bit, because the misconception with the 4-point.
What's the 4-point?
The 4-point is going to look at the 4 major systems of the house: electrical, HVAC, plumbing, and your roof again.
Okay.
So those are your four deteriorating systems, essentially, right? So over time they deteriorate.
Pause for a second. The freaking hot water heater. What is going on with these hot water heaters? They're killing deals left and right now.
So that's why I wanted to touch on this too. I was going to get in with that. So that 4-point, again, that's not necessarily a discount inspection. That's an eligibility inspection. Yeah, so that's looking at saying everything's been updated, is in good condition, you don't have leaks, you don't have, scorching in your breaker box or open, empty outlets, things like that. It's going to look at the age of the water heater. You're right, a lot of carriers, again, have set that 15-year mark. Again, not arbitrary number. They got data to back that up. The reason they say, this is my example on the water heater. So people say, why am I going to replace something that's working? It's working perfectly.
All the time, we do that all the time.
It's the same thing going back to the roof, right?
Yeah.
So the standard homeowner's deductible nowadays, I would say, for all other perils, which is your water damage, which is what's going to apply to the water heater, $2,500. A water heater is really going to cost you between $1,000 and $1,500. So are we going to roll the dice on it and say, no, I'm going to pay a higher rate because I don't have as many options now, because I don't want to replace my water heater. So we're going to pay a higher cost because you don't have maybe another carrier that would be half the rate. At the same time, when that water heater fails, I'm out of pocket a minimum of $2,500, plus I'm having to do it anyways. Plus, if it's a bad enough issue, and say it's a second floor, it's a rental unit, whatever it may be, you're out thousands upon thousands because you can't rent it or you can't occupy your house. It's $1,000, $1,500, change it. It's simple math on that, so it's $1,500 now or $10,000 later, so. But
why is it a thing now? Why is it only coming to the front now?
Litigation. So that's where it started.
Freaking lawyers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Litigation, it was called, I touched on the same thing they did with the roofs, assignment of benefits. They come in, say, sign this piece of paper, I'll get your claim taken care of. $10,000 water claim. They submit it to the company, we want 50. Carrier's like, no way, okay, we're going to court. They're not gonna get into that situation. Same situation. So that's why water heaters have become a big issue. Again, they've got the data. So back to the 4-point and the wind mitt. 4 points eligibility, wind mitt reduction, credits. I think that's the thing on it now. 4-point, if your home's over 20 years old, that's the year that I'm gonna recommend getting it. Yes, there are carriers that don't require it at that age. The majority of them are there now.
Okay.
The whole idea from an independent standpoint, what I am trying to do as an agent is I'm trying to make sure I have as many options for you, because this option over here requires a 4-point. It's $2,500. This option over here doesn't require a 4-point. It's $4,500. All you had to do was spend $175 and I could get you this as long as everything's updated. So you're spending money to make money, but
there's some work involved. You gotta call and talk to your insurance person and ask questions and get this worked out.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're smart.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't put it on anybody else. This is what I'm licensed to do. So realtors, everything like that, I know you guys have to walk that line of giving that advice. It can get you guys in trouble, you know, if you go too far with it. And I'm just, you know, you can't advise. Have somebody that you can call and send and say, that's a great question. Here's what I know about it, but I'm going to recommend you calling this guy.
All right, so let me ask you this too. You change the fire alarm battery. When do you do that? Like on Mother's Day or whatever? Someday you change, right? It's a reminder. Doesn't it make sense that every year you should call your insurance person and just say, hey, are we up to speed?
100%.
Do I, can I, should I, would I?
Your renewal.
And just make, your renewal, whatever. Most people just whatever, or it's auto pay.
It's an automatic reminder.
Yeah.
Whether or not you're billed out of escrow and your mortgage pays it, yada, yada, you get copies. It's your policy. They're just taking the payment for you.
You should do it. You should do it. I don't do it, but you should do it, and I will do it, right? I mean, once a year, just, hey, am I up to speed?
Market goes up. You bought it 4 years ago, you insured it for $500,000. My house is now worth $1.5 million.
That's another thing.
I added on, I upgraded, I did this, I did that.
I got people calling all the time.
I don't know that.
Why is the insurance so much? Well, your house is worth twice as much as it was, so the insurance is twice as much as it was. Yeah. Just the nature of the beast.
Absolutely.
All right, Brad, insurance guy. Final thoughts to anybody who owns a house, a condo, whatever.
Call multiple agencies, call multiple agents, get quotes, but then don't stop and try to compare yourself. Try to find the agent that you like or that unfortunately gets back to you. We're all bogged down right now. Let's give some grace there, I would say. I mean, we're having to look at everybody's policy right now because of what's going on, but stay on it, get comparisons, make sure you understand your policy.
It's hard though, is it hard? It's hard.
It's hard. I don't expect you to remember it, but make sure you do a little research and then also ask these kinds of questions of your agent. I mean, it's your contract. You have to take responsibility for it. Just because I sold it to you doesn't absolve you of anything.
So true.
So the biggest thing is find an agent you trust. The majority of agencies around this area in Florida, I would say around this area, have a lot of the same companies. So if you get an Olympus quote from three different agents and they're all different, there's something different there. They don't have special rates. The rates are the same. It's either in the rating, the coverage, something is different. So you can tailor these policies, right? Like I've said. Make sure you understand what's in the quote, what's covered, what's not covered. Your deductibles are a huge piece. That 2 and 5% look awfully similar if you're not paying attention. That's a big difference. That's 2.5 times out-of-pocket costs in a hurricane if you're at 5 versus 2. So make sure you're looking at it, but at the end of the day, make sure you have an agent review it that you trust. That's the biggest thing is make sure you have someone that does it.
There you go.
Okay.
Like anything.
Like anything.
Like anything.
Yeah.
All right, there you are. Insurance is a thing. It's a big, big thing. All right, last thing on the big, big things. How do we get in touch with Brad Davies, Liufau McCall Insurance?
Multitude of ways.
Phone, email?
Phone, 850-460-7490. You can email us either at admin@lmigflorida.com or Brad. We didn't reinvent the wheel. There's a couple agents. We got Tyler, we got James, we got Mary, we got Brantley, not leaving anybody out specifically, but We've got everybody.
There you go.
You got emails, whatever you want to do.
You can be found.
We can be found. You can go through our website. You can request a
Go
quote
find them.
through the website, DestinInsuranceAgent.com.
There you are. Go find them. Thanks, Brad.
Yeah, thank you.